What a great pleasure it is to welcome Cornelia van Heerden, who is the Executive for Customer Experience and Services at MTN South Africa. So, Cornelia, good afternoon to you and welcome to What's Next. It's your first time. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Aki, and thank you for having me. It is indeed my first time and looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So, MTN has been really talking about its renewed commitment to customers. I'm hearing it from your customers, which is great. What does that commitment really mean in practice? What are you guys doing in the background to improve that customer experience?
So, Aki, it really starts with listening to the customers. So, in the end, we collect a lot of feedback from our customers. We listen to our calls. We look at our social media posts. We obviously get emails. And we look at all the data and we say, what is the most important thing to customers? And we start there, and it's really a journey. It never stops. It's really looking at what is the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that frustrates customers, that customers would like to see more of, or that worries customers. And we take those things and we start improving them one by one by one.
Okay, so it's like an elephant. How do you eat an elephant one chunk at a time, right? And it's good that you're making great progress, because at the end of the day, it's all about customer experience, and that's been one of your key focus areas, is improving customer experience. What are you seeing as your biggest impact in this regard?
So I think one of our biggest impacts is really, so we've done a lot of little things. So in the end, it's also the sum of the little things. So it's not always a big, fancy, shiny thing, but it's sometimes just working through those customer frustrations and customer problems, that eventually comes to a lot of good, but it's a lot of little things. But one of the things that I'm actually the most proud of our recent deployments is our facial biometric solution that we've got in store now. And we are still working through some of the journeys to take it further and further. But right now, what we have in store is facial biometrics. So you can enroll in a facial biometric solution. We verify you with Home Affairs. And if you're a passport holder, we verify the passport. And then we can actually use that information to make sure that it is you who is transacting on your account. So that's one of the things I'm quite proud of.
Okay, wonderful. So I see that was the next question, but I think you're going to expand on the facial biometric, right?
Yes, it is.
In the next one. Okay, so that's brilliant, because I did read about that in one of your recent press releases about the rollout of facial biometric solution, which is, you hear a lot about face. I mean, we use it every day, most of us, when we authenticate ourselves on our phones, right? That's a form of facial biometric solutions. Now, this is quite a decision that MTN has made. What led to this decision, and what does it mean to the customers? Because I imagine that the way you described it just now, it's going to speed up quite a few things.
So unfortunately, it does not yet speed up a few things. It makes at least the authentication bit right now, it makes a lot easier. But where we want to get to is to then remove a lot of the rules and documents we've previously had in the process, to then remove those things so it becomes easier for our customers to do business with us while still more secure. So I think the reason why this was so important for us is that we've seen an increase in fraud. And a lot of all the industries have seen an increase in fraud. And as much as the South African Fraud Prevention Services reported a 400% increase in fraud incidents between April 2023 to April 2024. So it's not just a MTN thing or a South Africa thing. It is a worldwide phenomenon that fraud is on the increase. And unfortunately, with AI, I did even some training this week around security for our internal security, and even in the training they were mentioning how AI is now being used to commit fraud. So for us, it's really important to make sure that the customer we're transacting with is the real person. And from a customer's side, it gives him the comfort that when working with us and when transacting with us, it's not some fraudster doing a transaction on their behalf, because we use a strong authentication method.
So I think that what you're highlighting as well is obviously the sophistication of fraud, and of course AI, which is it's kind of scary what they're doing in the fraud department. And is that the reason why it was so important to address the fraud prevention right now? Because let's be honest, fraud is becoming very sophisticated, not just in your industry, but across every other business sector.
Now, indeed, again, this is the problem, is that the fraudsters are always one step ahead of you. And what we've previously done is we used to introduce rules to stop fraud. And by nature, a fraudster doesn't follow the rules. That's why they're a fraudster. So we've just frustrated our real customers with lots and lots and lots of rules and requirements and documents and things they need to submit and bring and affidavits and all kinds of stuff, where this actually reduces the friction for the customer while improving the security, because a fake affidavit is much easier to obtain than a fake facial identity, which is near impossible to obtain. I won't go as far as saying it's impossible because I don't want to challenge the fraudsters, but it is certainly a lot more secure, and a lot more secure than previously we would require copies of your ID. And we know how those things just, people create IDs and create copies of IDs. And we just want to make sure that our customers are, the person who's doing the transacting with us is the person they are saying they are.
Okay, it's brilliant. And I think that it's fantastic that you're doing all of these things, because you really are preventing the fraud from happening. You're improving that customer experience and that whole process. You're automating a lot of the businesses. A lot of people will say that, a lot of technology is being applied into customer experience. But the one frustration that customers have is that, that human element is lost. You at MTN are making sure that, yes, despite the fact that you're introducing all of these new technologies, you're not losing that human element, that, there's always somebody there that you can talk to, right?
That is great, Aki. And the thing is, it becomes quite interesting to see that a big shift in the customer experience world is to bring back the human connection. So over years, and it's not even just recently, but over years, we've automated a lot of things. You think about IVRs, when those were introduced, massive efficiencies on the call center side, but huge frustration on the customer side to get to the right place. So nowadays, these things are much smarter. The IVRs are much more user-friendly. But in the end, some things you just want to talk to a human. Some things you just cannot explain to a robot or an automated process. And it's just also to introduce that human element and making sure that what we are really aiming for is to make sure that the customer has a frictionless experience. And it's really about all the things that frustrate you in a process, all the steps that you are required to do to make sure that it's just easy for you to do business with us. And even that humanness is to say that there is a bit of, say, the flexibility around how you interact with us. So you can make your choice of channel. And we've got lots of generations now, even in the workplace nowadays. And I mean, some of the older people still want to talk to a human. Some of the younger people never want to talk to a human. So you have to cater for all those types of personalities, and also different languages, because we have 11 or actually 12 official languages in our country. And as a result, you also want to make sure you speak to people in their language, or in the language that they are comfortable in explaining their problem to you. So we've done a lot of work around that as well.
Amazing. As you were talking earlier, I was thinking about how important the device that I'm holding in my hands that's connected to the MTN network, how critical and what an important part it is about the gateway to all of my personal things in my life, whether it's my bank, whether I'm trying to authenticate myself, where I'm getting an OTP. It really is, it's almost like the golden key to access, all the stuff that you want to do privately, and that needs to be very secure. So biometrics is brilliant, but what else is MTN doing to improve security? Because when you look at that gateway, I mean, you play such an important role in opening up all the avenues around me, banking in particular. So I'm keen to hear what else you're doing to improve security.
So, obviously biometrics was the big thing, but we have processes, or we've had processes in place specifically around SIM swap and one-time PINs. And we've looked at these processes and also enhanced security around these. So previously, you would have a bunch of interesting questions you had to answer. And if someone knew you well, they could potentially answer all those questions. So we've tightened up this a lot, and making sure that we double authenticate, or to do multi-factor authentication for SIM swaps, and specifically around our OTPs. And please do not ever share your OTP. It seems to be such a trivial thing, but people still do a lot of that today. So people still do share their OTPs. It is one of the techniques that the fraudsters use is to create the sense of urgency and pretending that they call from MTN or pretending that they are from your bank, and then get you to share your OTP. And one of their techniques is to create urgency, to say something is happening on your account, you have to do something about it now. And then people just share these things. But we've built some extra security around that to try and support our customers and just to protect our customers in general when it comes to OTPs and some SOP specifically.
Yeah, and it's not just the banks. I mean, it's even social media. I mean, the other day I had somebody, WhatsApp me randomly and say, your account's been compromised. Will you please share your Facebook and Instagram details? You'll receive an SMS with an OTP. Share that OTP with us. So yeah, it's brilliant. And I think the more we talk about this awareness, the better we make it for everybody. Now, AI is very topical at the moment, and AI is also playing a critical role in customer experience and security, etc. We touched on the security side, but when it comes to customer experience, surely AI is also playing a big role for MTN and as part of your customer experience strategy.
It is indeed, Aki, and I think what we've done there is we've been very focused. So we've said, let's look at specific use cases, and one of the first things we tried and we are playing with a lot is to say, how do we use AI to assist our agents? Now we have a complex business. We run multiple lines of business and multiple products. You spoke about your handset. Those things change every year. They get more and more sophisticated. And how do you support customers through the journeys that happen in our world when we're not familiar with our terminology, they're not familiar with how our products necessarily work? So what we've done there is create an agent assist. So AI trawls literally all our data and then suggests to the agent the solution to whatever problem the customer has. Now, we've learned a lot of lessons through this already. One of the things is that we do have a lot of jargon. So one of the things we're doing now is to say, how do we translate our jargon into customer language? So when we speak about things internally, for example, we speak about an MSISDN, that is your mobile number. That is your phone number. So a customer is not going to say, here's my MSISDN. The customer is going to say, here's my phone number. So you have to translate your internal jargon into customer language. And then the first thing we've tested now is literally to say, how do we help the agents? But then the idea is to take that work and expose it to customers to also help themselves. So to use the AI to help the customer to diagnose the problem with whatever product they have and then take it from there. That's one of the solutions. The other thing is really around language. And I spoke briefly about language earlier, but language, in South Africa is a very emotive thing. So it comes a bit to the human side, but also it is something where people really just are able to express their problems a lot better in their own language. And it's really looking at AI to how do you do real-time translations. We often, as South Africans, and I'm sure all of us do it, you use multiple languages that you don't even realize. You just jump from one to the other. And the AI sometimes struggles to then decide which language are you speaking. But it's really just about training those models and making sure that you know what the customer wants and then suggest what are the possible solutions to the problem.
And of course, it gets better and better, right? Because the more interactions, the more data you have, the more input you put into the system, it starts learning and it starts getting better and better with time. And I was just thinking about, how massive MTN is and how many millions of customers you have. Do you, by any chance, off the top of your head, know how many how many interactions you have on a daily basis with your customers by them calling or WhatsApping your helpline? It must go into the hundreds of thousands.
So, definitely on just on the call center side, we know how many calls we have, we know how many WhatsApps, how many emails. But what is more fascinating is really the interaction with our self-service channels. And those transactions actually runs into the billions in a month. So just people buying bundles, people interacting with our channels, doing extra time, recharging, and all those transactions, it's literally in the billions that customers come to us via our own interface, but also via our partners. So, buying airtime, recharging, extra time, buying bundles, buying content services, Disney Plus subscriptions, Netflix subscriptions, all those interactions. And then, of course, the service interactions where they ask for help. It is a massive amounts of data that we do have, yes.
Yeah, I can just imagine. The moment you say billions, I can just imagine trying to analyze all of that. It's quite extraordinary. So you're clearly using technology quite extensively to sort out many of the customer experience issues, and really that's what most organizations are doing today, which is brilliant. What else can we expect from MTN in the future as customers? What else are you looking at for in the next step to improve those customer interactions?
So as I mentioned, we are continuously looking at improving all the little things, so all the irritating things. So do encourage customers, do give us the feedback. We've got lots of surveys, and just tell us, these things irritate me, these things frustrate me. But a lot of the things we are looking at exploring the technology is really around keeping the human touch, but automating all the frustration. So all the rules and the lots of documents, removing all of those requirements. The language is a big investment for us. And then also to invest in the self-service or self-help channels, but also educating our customers. And I said, like a lot of the things we do around educating the customers, just letting people know what are the latest scams, how to prevent fraud yourself, what do you need, how to help customers help themselves when they can. There's the old IT thing about always restarting your PC, doesn't always work. How do you help customers to also troubleshoot themselves? But in the end, it's about making sure, and then these phones of ours become our lifeline, and making sure it's always on and it's always working. And what are the things that are preventing that from working, and making sure we are doing those. Of course, our network is the base of our product, and we've invested a lot of money into resilience for the network, which just means that it stays up even when the power goes down. We've had phenomenal stories about people telling us when there was snowstorms in KZN or floods, how the network remained up despite the challenges, and our engineers really work. There were stories about our engineers going out on horseback because the cars couldn't drive there; it was too muddy, and they went on horseback to go and fix a network site. And that's really our commitment to our customers, is to make sure that they are always connected, and that's really where we want to go.
That's going the extra mile for sure. Cornelia van Heerden, the Executive Customer Experience and Services Head at MTN South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, Cornelia. It's been lovely chatting to you.
And thank you very, very much for having me, Aki. It was really nice of you.